Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's video. It's another quickie. This kind of sounds like a bit sexual, but I'm going to start calling some of these videos Quickie Tuesdays, just where I kind of talk about a topic for a very short amount of time. So the topic I'm going to talk about today in Quickie Tuesday is, what is the story you're telling yourself? So what is the story that you're building around events in your life, conversations you have with people, interactions you have with people? We're always telling ourselves stories, and this is how we make sense of things in our brain. And Brene talks incredibly well about how important story is to us and how we need clarity in our stories. So for example, I overheard something last week. So I overheard two people having a conversation, and I didn't hear it properly because I was in the other room, and I immediately thought that they said something about me, and I made up a story that they were feeling sorry for me and that they thought I was a charity case, and they were whispering about me in the other room, and I felt like my skin had been ripped off. I was like, oh my God, they're talking about me in the other room. I don't want to go in there now. I feel so uncomfortable. They think I'm weak, they think I'm stupid, I can't go in, I can't face them. And then rather than letting that story then grow and grow and grow and internalizing that story, I said to my husband, who's one of the people who was in the other room, I just said, I feel a little bit sad. I feel like I'm telling myself a story, and I want to share with you that I thought that you and somebody else were just talking about me, and I thought that you were saying things about me, and I thought you were kind of taking pity on me, and it made me feel really shit. So I just wanted to share that with you. And he was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. And then he was like, oh my God, Ruth, we weren't even talking about you. He's like, someone shared this article with me and we were talking about that, and it was nothing to do with you. It was about something about me, and it had nothing to do with you. So I was kind of like, oh, right, okay. And then it all totally made sense and clicked together. And I was like, yeah, that wasn't even about me. And then I was just thinking, if I hadn't have asked him, then I would have probably spent the next day, few days, week, internalizing and building this monster of a story about how I was being talked about, and it wasn't even true. So it just proves that how quickly this was all happening within seconds. I was making assumptions. I just totally made up this story with complete clarity and absolute conviction that it was what was happening. So the fact that I then was able to have that awareness that I was making a story up in my mind, I knew that it was making me feel shitty. So I was able to check in with him and say, I'm kind of making up the story in my mind and it feels really shitty, and so I'm going to share it with you. And even if it had been more along the lines of true to what I was thinking, just the fact that I shared it with him meant that he knew how I was feeling. He wasn't thinking, oh, Ruth's in a weird mood, why is she being a bit snappy, why has she gone quiet, what have I done? And it could have just gone on and on and on for days and days. So it's always worth checking in with yourself and being very aware of we all do it. We're all telling ourselves stories about stuff. Your friend doesn't pick up the phone and doesn't reply to your text, and then you see them out with some other friends on Instagram or something, and you think, they fucking hate me, they're not interested in me, they don't like me anymore, I'm just a loser. And then you actually then talk to them and oh God, I'm so sorry, I was in a rush and I just didn't have time to call you back, I'm really looking forward to catching up, and actually that night out wasn't that great. And then it's just all of these stories that we make up, and then we're like, God, why did I waste a week or 2 weeks thinking that when it wasn't the truth? So sharing your story with someone as soon as possible, fact checking that story, internally saying to yourself, what's the reality? What's the difference between the reality and the story that I'm making up? What facts have I got to back this up? And can I fact check it and share with someone how I'm feeling? And I think this can help us to create stories that are actually true, and to not get carried away with kind of our own insecurities and making up things that just simply are not true. So Quickie Tuesday, keeping it under 5 minutes. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next time. Bye.